Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
March 3, 2020, the Herbalife edition. First up, investigators are exploring the US Gymnastics former president to determine if he actually acted or attempted to act as an agent for some of the gymnasts under his tutelage. Federal prosecutors and investigators are conducting a wide-ranging criminal inquiry of Olympic sports and are taking a look at former Chief Executive Steve Penny, who sought to act as agent for stars such as Simone Biles and Jordan Weiber. In fact, he did act as Weiber's agent while he ran the nonprofit governing body and managed its sponsorship deals. Obviously, this is a major conflict of interest, but it also really shows the type of corruption that Penny engaged in routinely throughout his tutelage and presidency of USA and Gymnastics. And if you wonder why the Federation is in such dire straits, particularly around Larry Nassar's scandal, you really need look no further than, if these allegations are true, then pretty serious conflict of interest, and it puts really all of those sports deals in danger. Next up from the Washington Post, and you can only say, only a banker could think of this, as banks want regulations eased due to coronavirus. Now, you might ask, how does coronavirus relate to banking regulations? And that indeed would be a very good question, because, of course, they don't. There's no banking regulations around coronavirus. But the banks are using this opportunity to claim to the Trump administration that the regulatory burden put upon them after the 2008 financial crisis, which the banks, of course, led, should be eased. So never pass up a good tragedy or catastrophe to try to ease regulation. Along those lines, Trump administration now wants to lift the ban on transporting liquefied natural gas on trains. It's reported in the Washington Post. State and local politicians, firefighters, safety experts, Native American tribes, and the NTSB itself are critical of the proposed rule. For anybody who lives near a train track, all I can say, your life is absolutely in danger if they allow this. Liquefied natural gas, if it explodes, is going to take out not just the train track, it's going to take out city blocks, and it's going to burn with a ferocity little seen in American industrial tragedy. So if this rule is changed and you can literally send bombs on trains through towns in the form of liquefied natural gas, it is a disaster waiting to happen. And it's one thing we've learned from the Trump administration, they're completely ill-prepared for disasters. And finally, from the Wall Street Journal, Dylan Tokar reporting, always great stuff from Dylan. Herbalife has set aside $40 million for a bribery settlement. The Los Angeles multi-marketing company is looking to resolve investigations by the DOJ and SEC around its FCPA issues. It believes it can resolve these, and it couldn't predict, of course, the exact timing of the possible settlement or the final amount. But when a company reserves an amount that's turned out to be pretty accurate, I would say within 10 or maybe even 20% of what the total fine and penalty may be. So looks like Herbalife is getting ready to settle. We've had quite the year already in FCPA settlement, and I expect that we will continue to see that going forward. So one more after Cardinal Health this week, Herbalife, and of course the big one, Goldman Sachs, around the 1MDB scandal. So it could be continue to be a very big year in FCPA. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening.